And
Yeah. We appreciate you showing up. Made it special.
yeah, I show up when I can.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we appreciate it. Good evening, folks. We're seeing several people chime in. It's 4:58 right now. We'll get started promptly at 5, or as soon as we have our CSC members joining us tonight.
Thanks, Amy.
Hi, Sarah. Welcome. Hi, Kevin. Welcome.
Thank you.
Can't get rid of us.
Hi, Debbie. Welcome.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi, Margot. Welcome.
Hi there, how's everybody doing?
Okay.
Good, good.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Okay.
Welcome, everyone. Let's see. Hi, Tanisha. Welcome.
Sorry, I was just updating my name. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Good evening. Hi, Mary Elizabeth. Welcome.
They didn't change anything.
I can change your name, Debbie, for you. All right. I'm seeing James has arrived as well. Welcome, Nate. I'm seeing a handful of CSC members. What do you think, Stephanie? Should we wait another minute or should we get started? Oh, here we go. Some more folks arriving. Welcome.
Maybe we wait a minute. Just, I think we would probably expect a few more folks to join.
Hi, Everett. Welcome. Good evening, Ryan. Hi, Hector. All right, this is Amy. It's 5:03 and I'm seeing several folks have joined us tonight. Welcome everyone to your 72nd Community Steering Committee meeting. Can you believe it? 72nd. Tonight we have a lot of great updates to share with you, and hope that everyone is healthy and safe and ready to join today's conversation. Can you believe it? We're like summer's right upon us, and we're welcoming your 72nd meeting. And we are going to continue the celebratory vibe that we had last month in person. So we're going to continue that celebration by spending some time together tonight, by reflecting back on all of your accomplishments and really thinking about how those accomplishments are going to help us build the future together. And before we go into the content for tonight's meeting, I'm going to start with a really quick review of meeting logistics. While I know this is familiar to many of you because almost everyone has joined us on these Zoom meetings before, just want to make sure that we keep following the norms that we have created together. So I'm going to share my screen and just show you some of the basic logistics that we usually cover during these meetings. Let's see here. So tonight I'm joined by my colleagues Liz Lev and Veronica Awan from Harder & Company, and you will see them join in and potentially rename your profile. If they don't, and if you would like to rename yourself, we really appreciate it. You can change your screen name by ensuring that you're following some of these rules. So if you're a CSC member, you would put CSC followed by your first name and your last name. If you're one of our residents that is participating in our residential stipend program, please make sure to put an R next to your name. All other participants, we ask that you put your first name and your last name and your affiliation. And again, if you need help, just feel free to ask, or you'll see that somebody from our team will go ahead and rename you. In addition to that, because as you can see, there's several of us on here tonight, we do ask that you stay on mute unless you are speaking or plan to speaking. If you are calling in with your cell phone and not on the Zoom app, you do use *6 to be able to mute yourself and unmute yourself. And then of course, when we get to the Q&A sessions during our presentations, we always ask that you raise your Zoom hand so that we can call on you. And lastly, as a reminder to those residents who are participating in the residential stipend program, we do ask that you stay on for at least 75% of the meeting time to be eligible for a stipend. And of course, if something happens, you get disconnected and you have to reconnect, just let us know and we keep track of that. And as a good housekeeping reminder, we want to have a productive discussion today and respectful dialogue. I won't go through all of the group norms that we've established together, but I do want to highlight that as we celebrate all of your accomplishments and plan for the future, we do want to seek common ground, and we do that very well by building consensus and finding shared values that will help us achieve the best results. And we got to witness that together in person at the last meeting, and we'll have some of that conversation again later today. So as you saw in the agenda package that was delivered via email, we're going to spend some time doing some welcome and introductions, which is what I'm talking about right now. And then we have some guests tonight that will have some welcome remarks as well. And then we'll move to our reviewing the action item tracker. And then we'll get to that celebratory piece of really reflecting on the 5 years of the Stockton CERT milestones, where you'll get to hear some of the highlights of the things that have been accomplished within the community, and then talk a little bit about what this might look like in the future. And then we'll move to our standard standing updates, and then we'll have a chance to wrap up the meeting and talk about next steps. And of course, we always make space for public comment. All right, as I said before, it's so great to be here with you on Zoom. Of course, I miss you all from being in person, but we want to make sure that we keep the conversation moving forward. So with that said, I'm going to pass it to Stephanie to provide some welcoming remarks as well.
Hi, Amy. It's Sarah. I can provide welcoming
Go ahead, Sarah.
remarks this evening. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thanks for spending your evening with us tonight. And it was so nice to see you all in our last in-person meeting. Tonight is a special opportunity to reflect on all the progress we've made over the past 5 years. The accomplishments will share are a direct result of your guidance and dedication to improving the air quality and health of the Stockton community. Because of your support, we're able to implement meaningful programs like the air purifier program. We do a lot of outreach in the community and connect with a lot of community members through all the events that Cassandra attends. So just incredibly rewarding to look back and see how much has been accomplished in the last 5 years. So yeah, thank you so much.
This is Amy. Thank you, Sarah, so much. I didn't see your box pop up earlier, so I'm glad that you're here to provide some welcoming remarks. This evening, we don't have a community co-host. Just as a reminder, we love to have a community co-host. As you saw, when we have community co-host, it brings a special welcoming from somebody from the committee, and it helps with the planning the agenda and setting up the conversation. So if you're interested in being a community co-host for a future meeting, please do let us know. Before we dive into our agenda, I want to welcome CARB tonight. So as many of you know, there have been a lot of happenings over at CARB, and we know that several CSC members have been interested and eager to hear some of the updates that are happening at the CARB level. And while we don't have a full agenda item for CARB tonight, we do have the pleasure of having Kevin joining us tonight and would like to make some space to provide some updates that CARB can provide at this time. And then after that, we'll dive right into our review of our action items. Kevin?
Thanks, Amy. So I was asked to come and give an update because, as many of you know, last week, CARB had an agenda item, which was a 15-day regulatory package that had updates to Cap and Invest. And I think I saw a number of you in the meeting. Some of you joined for public comment. And so I wanted to give a brief update and then answer any questions I can. I will be candid up front. You may have questions I don't know the answer to. This is a program that is managed by a different division at CARB, and I'm not an expert in the world of Cap and Invest and many of the details that were discussed in that program, but we will be writing down any questions or feedback you have and sharing them with leadership. But we did want to be accountable to you today and come and answer and provide that update. So the short update is for those of you that weren't listening in last week, let me start by just saying the goal of Cap and Invest, the program is to reduce emissions, and as a bonus, it has also generated billions of dollars in revenue for the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund over the last decade. Many of the activities currently being funded by the legislature through GGRF, known as the California Climate Investments, are ongoing and will continue to provide benefits for years. The program sets annually declining limits on emissions, and as emissions go down, there's always the expectation that revenues would decline. On May 28th, the CARB board adopted amendments to the program following the legislature's successful passage of new laws extending to 2045. The updates are estimated to provide $10 billion in direct relief to electricity customers through bill credits and generate an estimated $8 billion for the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund through 2030. GGRF funding allocation decisions are made by the governor and the legislature each year as a part of the state budget process, and CARB does not play a role in deciding how revenue is spent. One other thing I did want to just note that I think was of particular importance, as the board resolution was being finalized, the CARB board members, made sure to add language to the final resolution that the board is directed the executive officer of CARB, working with the governor's office and the Department of Finance, to communicate the importance of stable funding for AB617 community air protection efforts, transit, affordable housing programs, all of which are focused on reducing emissions and encourage funding in the state budget. So right now we're at a place where we will see future auction proceeds for GGRF, and There is more uncertainty in our budget as a result of the board item. But that's basically the update that we have at the moment. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Like I said, many of them we might just be writing down to get back to you, but also happy to hear any feedback, concerns, or questions.
Thank you, Kevin. And before we go into taking the questions, just so you know, as part of our process, we do take note of all the questions and turn them into action items. So we'll send those to CARB to ensure that we get some clarity as you all get answers. So with that said, I see Mary Elizabeth has her hand raised. Go ahead, Mary.
Hi, thanks. So I did have a question. So those projects that the refineries are going to be using to reduce emissions, they included such things as carbon capture and sequestration. And Kevin, I really like to see some more disclosure in regards to, I know there's comments accepted on the, I think it's what, 905 or 950, and for the carbon sequestration. And looking at some information that I came about at a meeting yesterday for the acrolein and the ethylene oxide OEHA CARB meeting. There was a comparison of rules, and so our air districts have different rules, and we have, not the greatest air quality here in the San Joaquin Valley, and also not the most strong rules. We're still celebrating, that first round of indirect source rule, but there's no accountability for trying to match those funds to where the pollutants lie. And so is there going to be some kind of disclosure, more education about the CO2 pipelines, how that's interacting with the state fire marshal? Also, like how, what are the approved kinds of projects that those businesses are going to be able to spend that $4 billion on? I don't want to see that $4 billion spent on projects that just allow more dependence on petroleum products. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary Elizabeth. Again, this is one of those places where I want to be far from the water's edge of trying to answer your question fully because I'm not an expert. I did hear the board members express similar concerns, and I think they wanted to see when applications were coming in what was going to be included. But in terms of the parameters, which projects are included, I will make sure that we share your feedback specifically around carbon sequestration and what disclosure is required. And in terms of parameters and how that process will be set up, I'll make sure that question was shared and see how we can respond to it.
And even in relation, to there's some discussion that advanced manufacturing, that there's going to be some CEQA exemptions for carbon sequestration products under that umbrella. So, and important about the pipelines.
Make sure to capture all of that.
This is Amy. Thank you, Mary Elizabeth. We'll make note of that. Margot, go ahead.
Yeah, I think you gave a kind of a high level overview, at least and I know Mary Elizabeth understands quite a lot of what's going on there, and not everybody does. And first of all, I'd like to ask our group if we can make this, we're going to only meet quarterly from now on. And can we make this part of our agenda at each meeting just for an update? It seems really concerning to me that CARB, the California Air Resources Board, whose goal is to decrease emissions, is taking this route, and I'm very sad to see it. But I think our voices need to get out there, and we really always appreciate Mary Elizabeth's voice always being at the forefront, and I think Catherine too, and other people. But as a group, and now I'm speaking to our citizens here mainly, we really need to figure out how to stay in touch separate from this group, which isn't going to exist forever. So food for thought, guys, as to how we want to make that happen. And I'm not sure what pathway there is. So, Kevin, thanks for presenting. If you have any information as to what it means for the common person, what it means for the air quality in the valley, because I agree with Mary Elizabeth, it does not seem to indicate a pathway to decreasing emissions. Thank you.
Yeah, and a lot of those questions were raised during the board meeting and will continue to be explored by our board. And I do want to mention that this is going to be a topic at our next consultation group meeting at the request of the consultation group members. Mary Elizabeth is a member there. So that's also an opportunity to get another update and discussion in July. So that'll be towards the end of July.
This is Amy. Thank you, Kevin. And so, Margot, I'm hearing a couple action items, and one of them is bringing back this conversation to be a full agenda item. So we'll make a note of that, and I'll remind you when we get to discussing the next agenda items today. And then in addition to that, maybe putting an agenda item for you all as residents and CSC members to kind of talk amongst yourselves what this looks like beyond the AB617 engagement. Go ahead, Margot.
Yeah, I have one more thing to say, and that's because Kevin mentioned or you mentioned the consultation, someone mentioned the consultation group. And that's such a powerful group where the different AB617 groups chat to get, you get input from other areas on things they're working on, how things are working, what problems they've encountered, how they've solved them or not solved them. And it's just so valuable. And I don't know if there's a way to coordinate some of that, even if it's not all, we don't even meet with the AB617 groups that are in our air district area. But there's also Sacramento and the Bay Area and all kinds of places where they're going through things, and we could be a real force, I think. So I want the air district to think about how they can look to keep us going or how we can make that so. Thank you. That's all.
I just want to add one more thing. Oh, well, first I do want to say we're also blessed on the consultation group to have Ryan and Stephanie as members as well. And they bring real expert and leadership to our team. And then secondly, I wanted to just mention, Margot, you're giving me an opportunity to plug, and we'll have flyers going out next week that we have a peer-to-peer meeting which we'll be bringing together our 19 steering committees virtually in a place to communicate with each other about different topics. So that's another place to engage in conversations with other steering committee members. So keep an eye out for that. But information about that will be circulating starting next week.
How is that going to happen? Is that going to be Zoom? What is that? How's that
Zoom. Yeah.
Thank you.
And this is Stephanie. If I quickly could add something, Amy, I appreciate CARB for providing this update. I know it happened so quickly. And so I appreciate, Kevin, you pulling together the information that you could. But I did want to share those couple of venues that Kevin mentioned. I assume that, Sarah, maybe they're even part of your update for tonight's meeting, but that's something that we can, both of those opportunities we can follow up via email so that CSC members have it in your inbox. And yeah, like Kevin mentioned, they're both different, they're different kind of venues, but all venues kind of for you all to connect with other AB617 communities, kind of understand a little bit what's happening kind of at the state level and be able to do that connecting to other work. So we can help make sure that information gets out.
This is Amy. Thank you, Stephanie. And thank you, Kevin, for joining us tonight. Although it was brief, definitely very helpful, and we'll keep the momentum going. And we look forward to having a more comprehensive update at a future meeting. At this time, we're going to go ahead and transition on. Go ahead, Kevin.
I was just saying thank you.
At this time, we're going to go ahead and transition on to our next agenda item. So we're going to review the action item tracker. And for this, I'd love to welcome Rocio to provide us an update on the action items that were developed at our last couple of meetings. As you know, we use this time to provide some transparency and accountability on the things that you all request to ensure that things are moving forward. And if there's any questions about what's on the action item tracker, we can discuss them now. And then we'll spend the majority of the time talking about the 5 years of the Stockton SERP milestones. So with that said, I'm gonna pass it to Rocio.
Thank you, Amy. Hi, everyone. Go ahead and share my screen so we can get started with the action items. Okay, can folks see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. So today we have some action items to go through from the completed section and the comment noted. So I'll begin with the completed section. And so this first action item, there was a request at the last CSC meeting to share with the CSC the map that has the locations of the electric vehicle charging stations in the Stockton boundary. So we did go ahead and share that with folks in the May standing updates email. And on there, we included the maps with the pinpoint locations of the chargers, as well as the addresses to those chargers and the charger type. So whether they are level 2 or level 3 chargers. And so for this next action item, the district was, or there was a request to update the one-page flyer that we have for the Stockton residential outreach. And so our outreach team did go ahead and update this flyer. So it now reflects all of the residential programs that are available to Stockton residents in the boundary. And I did go ahead and insert a link here that takes you directly to the flyer, or you can also find it on our outreach webpage. But I'll go ahead and insert the link in the chat in case folks want to review the new flyer that was made. And so going to our last action item. This also was from our last in-person CSC meeting. And so it was a request for the district to explore options for placing stickers on the electric vehicle buses that communicate where the funding came from. And so for all district funded projects, the district does require identification to show that the new unit is a clean air project funded by the district. So they do already have stickers, but our team is going to look into seeing if we can make updates to the stickers that shows that the funding did come from an AB617 project. And that is all of the action items. I'm happy to pause here and see if folks have any questions on anything. Don't see any hands raised. Folks are welcome to put anything in the chat if something does come up later on, but I'll pass it back to Amy. Thank you.
This is Amy. Thank you, Rocio, for that. Appreciate the update. And if you think of other questions later, feel free to put it in the chat or email the air districts with your questions. At this time, we're going to transition to the exciting part of today's agenda. Really excited to be able to take a moment to reflect on all the accomplishments that this committee has made and that the district has been able to implement as part of the SERP that was approved 5 years ago. I can't believe it. So as we celebrate our 72nd CSC meeting, we'll be able to kind of take a moment to highlight the CERT milestone achievements, including implementation progress on each of the incentives or non-incentive measures. And then, as I said before, we really want to discuss priorities for sustaining the work beyond the 5th year. So kind of as you're listening to the presentations and thinking about the accomplishments, also be thinking about what might this look like as we move into the 6th year and beyond. So with that said, I'm going to invite Stephanie from the Air District to kick us off, and you should be able to share your screen.
Thank you so much, Amy. Let me just get my screen up and share my screen. One, I just wanted to echo Amy's excitement. Like it was super exciting to see you all. And so many of you showed up for the in-person meeting. I just wanted to thank everyone. That really is one of among all of our communities, like our favorite time of the year is when we get to see you all in person because it's so fun. So I just wanted to thank you again for all being there. I wanted to thank, like, for example, also CARB for being there. And other partners. But yes, this is a kind of riding on that high of seeing you all in person. We're really excited to kind of celebrate these 5 years. This was a very cool presentation for us to get to put together. I kind of went back to look at some old pictures and we pulled them into here. So we hope you enjoy them too. This is a really significant milestone and really, again, like Sarah had mentioned at the beginning, just a huge significant reflection of the work you all are doing and your commitment to the Stockton community, not just our 617 boundary, but really kind of the greater, area as well. Obviously, when we make changes and kind of have impacts in this area, it impacts a wider area that kind of benefits from those air quality impacts. We're going to get to highlight a lot of things between incentive measures, outreach, enforcement measures, but that really is just possible thanks to all the work you all are doing, and then also thanks to all of the organizations and all the different agencies that have contributed and helped support this work. So I am going to share my screen. Sarah and I are going to do a little bit of a presentation together. We also have Ryan Hayashi joining us, who I know that a lot of you know and recognize him. It's been a minute, I think, since he's come. I know he comes to a lot of the in-person meetings, but I think given that this was such a special celebration as we're kind of approaching this 5-year milestone, I know that him being so crucial and important kind of to that process through CERT development, he wanted to stop by and just be a part of that celebration. So I'm going to go through a few slides and we want this to be interactive. So as you all have questions and feedback, like Amy's mentioning about how we can continue sustaining this work, we certainly want to hear that. And so it's crazy to think about. And I know that, like, just looking at these pictures that so much and these dates, this has been, I think, I'm sure to a lot of you, a very fast process, but also a lot of meetings that we've done together. So this picture that you're seeing here, I know that, folks in this room will recognize it because I know I see some of you in here. I see Mary, I see Margot, I see SP in here. There's so many others that I'm sure I could, point out. But back in January was actually the kickoff meeting. This was held at the San Joaquin COG building. They let us borrow this room for this kickoff meeting. And this was all the way in January of 2020. And then now the meeting that we just had in May takes us to 2026. And just so crazy that we're at meeting number 68. And that doesn't include also, we tallied some numbers of just kind of all the work that this group has done. So we're at 72 steering committee meetings, which is approximately 144 hours that you all have spent with us. Typically, our meetings are about 2 hours. And that in and of itself, those 72 meetings don't cover all of the subcommittee meetings that you all have kind of spent time in and all of that really detailed nitty-gritty work that we did in subcommittees. Our team tallied and we did 78 subcommittees among all the different types of subcommittees that you all kind of prioritized. I know there was a lot of work, for example, with this group for the trees subcommittee to be able to get to kind of the proposals and where we are today. A lot of work in for example, the indoor air and weatherization subcommittee, where we essentially kind of, laid the framework to be able to open the residential air purifier program that we have now today. So lots of great detailed work that was done in those subcommittees that's leading us to, again, 5 years of CERP implementation. Like I said, it was really fun for me, and I know folks on our team had a good time just looking back at some of the work that we've done. I wasn't a part of it, but I know that lots of folks were part of the environmental justice tour that folks went on very early on. That's the picture that you see kind of in that top left-hand side. On that top right-hand side was a really great tour that Jeff in the port hosted us at, and we did a port tour. I know a lot of people were able to join that. And we, of course, just pulled some other pictures of from other things like Debbie and Heather at one of our CSC meetings, Regina and Cass at one of these an outreach event that we went to recently, and also one of the in-person meetings I think that we held last year at Stribley. So we did just want to take a moment as we've kind of hit this milestone in other communities. It's been really fun for us to just think back on the progress and really celebrate it. And we've had a fun time kind of talking with other CSCs as they've hit this milestone of just again marking that moment and just being able to celebrate the work. And so we did want to take a moment to reflect as a group about what you're most proud of through this process. Is there anything coming to mind? And that could be, you know, there's so many different aspects of this program, thinking about, I mean, not just the time we spent together in meetings, but the different programs and projects we've worked on. I know some of you have been here since the very first meeting, and some of you kind of joined on a little bit later and, you know, did a lot of work to catch up on kind of what the committee had been working on and been able to, you know, contribute your valuable opinions and feedback to this process. So a whole variety of things that we'd love to hear from you on of what really I think struck you and what you think kind of stood out to you in this work that we're doing. So I just wanted to kind of open the floor if anyone wanted to share and Harder and Company, if you all wanted to facilitate, if any, I don't know if anyone's raising their hands or anything, but if you all wanted to facilitate as folks had any feedback on that. Just invite anyone. Could be a CSC member, any of our agency partners too. Feel free to jump in.
Yeah, so this is the moment to recognize, it could be yourself, it could be recognizing someone who maybe isn't even here. So I think about Ed, who is not part of the committee anymore, but did so much work to help, you know, build momentum and implement some of the measures. And he was a very active member in some of these committee meetings. So big shout out to Ed if he's watching us on YouTube. Margot, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, I remember quite a few of the meetings, but my memory plays tricks on me these days, so maybe not quite so much. But I remember being at a school once, and I was asked what did I think was very effective in what we'd done, and it took me a minute because, you know, we've done this and this and this and this and this, but it was the school buses, I think, that really struck me as making a difference, because the school buses, when they used to spew out those diesel fumes right where the kids were all standing, right where all the parents and their little ones were, I think that's made a real difference here. And I really am pleased that we saw it through with that. But everything we've done has made some difference, at least. Maybe not as much as we wanted, but some. And I really appreciate everybody on this committee. And I'm glad we're going to keep going at least quarterly for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Margot. I see Nate is eagerly typing away. I'm going to invite you, Ned, to share, unmute and share.
Yeah, what I was typing in is the SUSD has at least 66 electric buses now. Back in, I think, 2022, and I can't for the life of me remember his name, the previous director of transportation got the first 11 buses off the ground and got the original charging stations. And then myself and several SUSD staffers salvaged about $40 million in funding in the school year of 2022-2023. And in March and April of 2023, we got a large order of buses in. I also mentioned there that some buses, I believe, I know I was working on it, whether it happened or not, I don't know, but I believe some of the smaller special ed buses were re-engined with newer, cleaner engines. And then I know that they've gotten, and I don't know if it has to do with the money that I had from ESSER. ESSER is an acronym for extended funding that came out of COVID for some special ed smaller vans. And those vans were intended, I think, to be gas electric hybrid. But I haven't had a chance to follow up to get all the exact fleet details. I also will point out that, and it's separate from AB617, but San Joaquin RTD has a large fleet of electric buses, both quick charge and depot charge. A quick charge bus is a bus where you drive into a terminal and a pod comes down and mates with the bus. It does about a 10 to 12-minute charge, and that can be done every couple of trips. A depot charge bus is a bus that you plug into a heavy-duty charger overnight when the PG&E electric rate is low and the usage is low and the rates are lower. And those charges and those buses can run just about all day on one charge. To go back to what either Mary Elizabeth or Margot said, I forgot who was speaking. School buses don't accumulate a lot of miles, but I agree 100% with what she said. What they did historically was sit at school sites idling with little puffs of diesel smoke coming out of the rear of them, where all the kids were congregating and waiting to board or get off. And that also included parents driving their cars through those parking lots, also breathing in those diesel fumes. So while school buses don't accumulate a lot of miles, the electric buses have no on-locational discharges through tailpipes when they're sitting in school parking lots and school bus yards. So that's a major contribution in that regards.
Absolutely. Thank you, Nate, for highlighting that. I'd like to invite Jeff, who's next.
Hi, thank you. Sorry, I'm driving, and so hopefully you can hear me okay. But I just wanted to thank this group as well. I mean, I've learned a lot about some of the environmental injustices and some of the, the challenges from Little Manila and others. And it helped open my eyes a little bit on some things that I wasn't aware of. And so thank you for that. And thank you also, I mean, this group, through the formation of the Port Outreach Committee, has also helped the port to develop the Clean Air Plan, which then also led to the application for the EPA Clean Ports, which led to the port getting $110 million in funding to reduce emissions. And so I thank you guys all for side conversations, for the contributions to the meetings, and your willingness to just partner on this and try to make a difference. So I just want to thank you all.
Thank you, Jeff. It's great to be in community and see the power of community. Mary Elizabeth?
Hi. So we've got parts of our community that are living near railroad lines. And there's a lot of movement of rail cars that goes on all over our community. And so I am like most proud of, that all of you all who worked on it, that Central California Traction is going to have electric switcher. And, when I'm talking to people, I got my, my plastic bag with my outreach folder, that I carry around with me, I can pull up at any time, to work on giving those of air purifiers away is, people are talking about the trains and all of the diesel smoke from the trains. And so, that's something that I think that I hope that we can continue to work on and to advocate for. But I'm very proud that, even though it looked like it wasn't going to happen and, they started rating the budget item for that it is going to happen. And I hope that we have a big celebration when we get that, and, a press release to, let people in the neighborhood. And it's not just Boggs Track that is impacted with a rail. So I just there's lots of parts, of Central Stockton that experience the diesel pollution from those rail cars.
Thank you, Mary Elizabeth. Ryan?
Thanks. So happy to be here tonight and to be able to celebrate with all of you the tremendous accomplishments that have been achieved. I'll kind of steal some words from Samir Sheikh, who's our executive officer, and and who has just a tremendous a level of appreciation for all the community steering committees that have been working on this across the district, and how you really are the unsung heroes of air quality improvement happening locally in the Stockton community. And whenever we talk about the program, we always talk about the collective efforts of the committee that has played such an important role at coming up with specific air quality improvement strategies. But then it's also over these last 5 years has provided so much key input and direction to us as an organization to make changes to different programs to help them be successful. I'm also just so proud of the fact that this was starting off, it was such a unique experience where you were drawing from and bringing together people with so many different backgrounds, and where we started versus where we are now, and how well we all work together and collaboratively, is a huge success, and is also setting a bar for what other processes should look like. And I want you all to have a tremendous level of pride and appreciation for that. I was asking Stephanie earlier today, so if kind of going back, there was over $30 million put towards clean air measures in the initial adopted CERP. And those were well thought out, and we funded things based on what we thought we could get done, and then obviously we were dealing with COVID at the time, and since that time you've actually reallocated 15. You recommended reallocating $15 million, so almost half of the funds, because for a whole host of reasons, like there was more pressing needs. We were seeing more opportunities in certain things. There was a community lens put on what's going to really benefit the residents the most, and so there were decisions that were being recommended by the CSCs, and so it's just very gratifying to see the success that those measures are having. Margo, you talked about the school buses, and I wholeheartedly agree with you that by getting kids off of combustion, school buses that use gas or diesel, has tremendous benefits to the health. And it's not just people that are standing around them. Studies have shown that there's a lot of emissions that actually seep into the buses themselves, either because the windows are rolled down or just by nature of where the engine is located. And so by removing those emissions, you're drastically reducing exposure to diesel particulate matter, which I think we all agree is just a great thing. And similarly, air filters getting into people's homes, and things like that. I won't bore you with a lot of this. I just one of the reasons why this program is so important to me, and coming from I was poor growing up, and I lived in South Central Fresno, and for example, you're providing cars to people, like reliable transportation. Growing up, my mom had a car. The gas gauge was broken in it. It would break down all the time, and can't count the number of times either she ran out of gas or the car broke down. We had to walk home. And each time the car broke down, she couldn't go to work the next day, while the car was being repaired. And my mom worked, like day jobs, either for, temp agency or substitute teaching. And that meant that there was money that wasn't coming in for that day. And I can't count the times my mom would cry because those bills couldn't be paid. So when I think of this program, I think about like those impacts. You're getting someone into a new car. That's reliable transportation. They can get to and from where they need to go. The sense of relief that that generates is immeasurable. And so I want us always to remember and think about what impacts the actions that you do here, what that really means in terms of benefiting people. Similarly, like air purifiers, getting those in people's homes. That, my mom, if I was sick, my mom couldn't go to work. And same thing, like that may be bills that didn't get paid, that may be notices from creditors or other things, and just the level of stress that has, and the impacts that has on people's well-being. And you can only imagine what like that is now, like in terms of with the affordability crisis that's going on across the country. And so you are making tangible, real world impacts on people's lives with the decisions that you made. And so I'm just so thankful for all of you. And like we talked about with the kind of some of those initial pictures, there are so many people that have been here since day one. And we may have all like ended up here for different reasons, but I think at the heart of it, it's because we're invested in seeing our communities flourish and do better and live healthier lives. And so tremendous kudos, thanks to each and every one of you. And I mean, that goes to the CSC members. We have a lot of agency partners here. I see Kevin, I see Lily, I see several, Sarah and others, and I see like businesses like, Jeff and the Port of Stockton. We talked about Ed Ward. It takes the collective to make these things happen. And I definitely don't want to, forget, we have our, environmental justice, arm of the CSC, representatives from Little Manila, and I see Catherine here as well. And so thank you, each and every one of you. We couldn't have done this without you, and just so proud. And hopefully you walk away from this meeting feeling very proud of the work that you've done.
Thank you so much, Ryan. And I see Kevin has his hand raised. Go ahead, Kevin.
For the record, I wanted to say something before Ryan started. Now I regret it because those were good remarks to close on. But I do want to just briefly offer a different perspective too. At the state, this really is a leader amongst the different steering committees in so many different ways. When I look at our incentives map that we created to show all the different project types that have been funded across the state, and there's over 6,000 different projects that have been funded from the Community Air Protection Program. And you look at Stockton, it's the most diverse map in the entire 19 communities. It looks like funfetti because it's a little bit of every different project type. And it's because you all have been so incredibly thoughtful about selecting residential and commercial and industrial incentive programs that meet different community members where they are. And I think have stretched that funding incredibly far. And like I said, it is absolutely true that a lot of that work has led to us creating guidelines chapters that were modeled on the work that was done here. So more communities across the state are now being able to do tree planting and get indoor air filtration systems is the work that was initially started here. So the innovation really is making an impact in other communities across the state. And I just really agree with you, Margot. I hope you all do keep working together as this goes away. I think whenever I do environmental justice, for me, the question is what is sustainable, what happens beyond year 5 and keeps growing. And I think this group has a lot of power. And another moment I was just so incredibly proud was when that wood pellet project came about, and we immediately got letters from Margot and Mary asking lots of questions. Suddenly they were reaching out to CNRA, they were reaching out to the Attorney General's office, they were making sure we were all talking to each other, and really got involved in a way that made an impact in thinking about how those emissions would affect the communities near the port, how they would erode the progress that's been made by the steering committee. So that's the kind of tangible work that I think, I'm sure you all will continue to do. And so it's just a pleasure to have seen all the amazing work you've done over 5 years. And I do want to make sure to recognize from a statewide perspective, what you've done has made a big difference as well.
Thank you so much, Kevin. This is Amy. Go ahead, Everett.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now, Everett. Go ahead.
Okay, listen, I wasn't going to say anything, but I think that I just wanted to commend the group itself, all the committees and everyone that has been participating to come together, how we have come together through adversities and different types of, there's a lot of stuff that I wasn't here in the beginning, a lot of stuff I am still not have the knowledge of, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to serve. And I also wanted to share that there was a time that I think there was when we had the meeting, in-person meeting at Stribley Park, and we didn't really know what type of where we were headed, where we were going, and everyone was on edge because they didn't know whether they were going to have any money, they didn't know if they were going to have a job or anything. I just would like to submit to you, because this is my neighborhood, this is where I grew up at, and that don't get complacent. You know, I'm not saying you are, but I'm saying that we cannot afford to lose some of the things that we've gained. We cannot afford to let things just go by haphazardly, thinking that it's okay. That we need to be able to meet the needs of the community, the people, and whatever is needed at that particular time. As Margot and others have said, we have to stay together, because if we don't do it, nobody else is going to come and do it. And I just wanted to, I'm not admonishing no one, I'm just saying, you know what, we can't just get stagnated. We got to continue to go forward and understand that this is for a better good. Not only the air, but all the things that you have accomplished with the trees, all the things that we've accomplished with the carb, and everything that has been done, it has been to the good. And there's a scripture in the Bible that says all things, not some things, work together for the good to them that love the Lord, to them that are called according to his purposes. Remember, we have purpose, and we must be about our Father's business. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Everett. And that's a great transition to helping us build the future. As you said, Everett, the work is not done. And so it's important to not only pause and reflect and celebrate the achievements, but also to use the lessons learned to help propel you to make change in the future. If I look at the chat, I'm seeing a lot of other shout outs for many of the other measures that have been successful in the community. Seeing Heather provide her grace and thanking everyone for being part of this process. I'm seeing Tanisha has her hand raised, so I'll pass it to you, Tanisha, and then we'll transition to kind of strategically thinking about how to move forward. Tanisha?
Thank you. So I just wanted to thank the Air District and Horner & Co. for being facilitators of the CSC meetings. And I know that sometimes we as EJ advocates have come off as very passionate, which can sound very intense. But I appreciate you guys being very open to receiving our criticism, feedback, thoughts, insights. And that really allowed for a collaborative momentum. And I just wanted to pitch in that since CSC is phasing out, I do run a Healthy Neighborhoods collaborative meeting that I am restructuring right now. That is something that I can see as keeping the momentum going, because my idea with that meeting is to roll it out in phases by stabilizing locally and then expanding to regional and valley-wide. And I wanted to make it as a central hub for climate information sharing and break it into work groups based on different topics that needs to be addressed. And my vision with that meeting is to invite all the people at the virtual roundtable, and that is to, that can be local jurisdictions, industries, community groups, residents who are passionate and want to get through each other and find a middle ground to achieve that equilibrium. We're not constantly expanding, and then we're not constantly pushing for that against that expansion. Thank you.
This is Amy. Thank you, Tanisha. And thank you everyone for spending some time recognizing each other and recognizing the great work that you all are doing collectively. I'm gonna at this time invite Sarah from the Air District to help us strategically think about our next steps.
Awesome. Thanks, Amy. I'm just gonna share my screen here. All right. Can you see my slide? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Tonight we wanted to go over all of the SERP measure categories, which include incentive measures, along with permitting and enforcement strategies, and our outreach efforts. After we go through each category, we'll pause and see if there are any questions, so we can address them as we go. So first of all, I'll start off with the completed or obligated incentive measures. This slide shows the programs that have been fully completed or committed. So for example, the school bus replacement program has been completed, which means 10 buses have already been delivered to Stockton Unified and they are deployed in the community. For other programs like the Switcher Locomotive or the Urban Greening program, funding has been saved for these measures, so it's taken up, it's locked up, but they do still need a little bit longer to be fully implemented and completed in the community. And we do have Nico here with Little Manila to give us some updates on urban greening at the end of the meeting as well. So we just wanted to highlight a lot of these programs that have been completed and committed. On this slide, we wanted to show you all of the SERP incentive measures that are still in progress. So as you can see, these are actually all residential programs, like the residential lawn and garden program and the air filtration program. We do still have money in these programs, so we're still working hard to promote these programs to the community, whether it's virtually, like with social media campaigns, or in person at many of the outreach events that Cassandra is attending. Over $9 million have been allocated to these specific residential programs, and over half of the funding is already out into the community, which is great, but we will definitely continue to promote these programs to community members to get these programs out to the community and achieve even more emission reductions in Stockton. And here are the residential programs again. So if you do know any residents that still have questions about these programs or would like to apply, please let us know and we can definitely help them out. Over the last couple years, we held these lawnmower trade-in / tune-in, tune-up vehicle repair / clean air room events, where we have replaced almost 1,000 mowers. We've issued vouchers to over 860 vehicles to perform emission-related repairs on their cars. And we've signed up hundreds of residents to receive the air purifier through our clean air rooms programs. Through, since the efforts have been so successful and since you all recently even reallocated funding to support the Tune and Tune Up vehicle repair program in the last meeting, we are planning to host another event in the next fiscal year. So that is exciting, and we hope we see a high level of participation in this event like we have seen in the past. So, and I did want to mention, just as a reminder, residents can apply for these programs like the lawnmower and vehicle repair programs and clean air rooms outside of these events as well. So you don't have to wait to apply for these programs. You can apply at any time. And for any of these programs, but it is nice. I do know a lot of residents do like going to these events as it's like a one-stop shop. They can spend a morning getting a voucher to repair their car, getting a lawnmower and signing up for the clean air room program like all at once. So it is beneficial, but definitely folks can apply outside of these events as well. Oops, apologies. All right. Another program that we're still working on is the Passenger Vehicle Replace Program, where residents can get grant funding to replace their 2006 or older vehicle with a newer, cleaner vehicle. Valley Can, we partner with them to implement our program. They're still holding monthly workshops to help residents apply and answer questions that they have on the program. Some residents want to talk to somebody in person before they submit an application. So this is a really nice time to get like one-on-one support with a staff that can walk them through the program. And there's actually a workshop coming up at the end of the month at Mountain Mike's on June 29th. So if anyone wants to apply, they can attend. They can even bring all their documents, and Valley Can will take photos of them and help submit them to us. And just like the lawnmower and tune and tune up and clean air room programs, residents can apply anytime to this program. So they don't have to wait until there's a workshop or an event to submit their application or get any questions answered. They can give us a call. We can even walk them through the application as well. They can come to one of our district offices or email us. So they definitely don't have to wait for these events to apply. So I just wanted to let everyone know that as well. And since we already have had a lot of Stockton residents go through this program, we wanted to highlight some of the residents that have had positive feedback on about the program. We've heard that residents had, positive experiences and even recommended the program to friends and families. We've also heard that the grant funding has helped residents get out of their older polluting car and into a clean, reliable, and affordable vehicle. It kind of helps with the barrier of getting a reliable car with that grant funding. So we do hear some positive feedback about this program that we just wanted to share with these testimonials from residents that are in your community. All right. Yes, Amy?
Yeah, I saw Margot had her hand raised earlier. Margot, was your question answered?
Oh, I can't remember now. It's all
Oh,
good.
it was me.
I think it was just another comment. I don't know. I appreciate Everett's comments, and yes, we need to figure out a way to stay together. Yeah.
And actually, Amy, I think also Mary might have raised her hand and then put it down. So Mary, let us know if you have an additional question.
Well, I want to see if we're going to get to the tune in, tune up.
Oh, yes. I did talk a little bit about Tune In, Tune Up here, just about the Tune In, Tune Up program. But since we did do that reallocation, we do have funding in Tune In, Tune Up. So if residents have an emission related repair, they can give us a call or give Valley Can a call, and we can help them with a voucher. We'll also have an event too where residents can come and get a voucher like the same day at these like combined lawnmower tune and tune up events. Yes, Leonard?
Yes, now that you mention it, I just wanted to say that a couple of days ago, my check engine light came on, and I went through several different auto techs and stuff. And I came to this one, and he recommended I call Tune Up, Tune In. I called them yesterday. They gave me a voucher number, and I'm going in tomorrow to see what they can do for me. I qualified for $500 to $800 off. So I'm still in the process, but it's working. And I've had nothing but positive success with these programs. The lawnmower trade-in, I traded my lawnmower in. I'm happy with that. Air purifiers, I got those. Everybody's breathing good. So it is working. I just want to let everybody know that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leonard. That's great to hear. That's awesome. Mary, did I answer your question?
When are we going to have another event here? And then the other one is because I know that there's lots of people that need this event here. How can we get more people? Because there's a lot of cars that, are just riding around in the neighborhood that, are really polluting. And and then on that new car thing, because I don't ever get off on anything, I just like stay on it until the end. Is, like I still think, that we should have not given all of that money for the switcher and then taken some money from some other things. And so I'd like to, see about getting more of the tune in, tune up action going rather than, spending, every month because Valley Can charges, I don't know how much it costs every month to be out there at Mountain Mike's, and how many people are there getting and, like what's the cost benefit of keeping that monthly outreach, right? That monthly outreach in person there, versus, putting some more money to the tune in and tune up. And I don't know how, I think that we just really need to, hit this tune in, tune out, and just get, and every single time there's a AB617 flyer, that little map that we made, with the streets on it, that was very helpful because I actually pull my postcard out, when I'm showing people and, they can see the streets. And so, I think that we need to have, more targeted, so more people can take advantage of this tune in, tune up to keep their cars that they maybe they already own to not have another car payment.
Thanks, Mary. If you do know folks that have emission problems with their car, feel free to let them know that they can give us a call or give Valley Can a call to see if they qualify for one of those tune in, tune up vouchers like Leonard just got. So I think it would be beneficial if you let them know about our program. And as for our vehicle replacement program, Valley Can is still seeing a good amount of folks show up to their workshops at Mountain Mike's. So we do still see a steady amount of applications. That program does take a little bit of time to get through the money just because by the time that their application is reviewed and approved and we issue a voucher, residents do have a couple months to look for a car to make sure that they're comfortable with what they're purchasing, or maybe they like visit a couple dealers before they make a purchase. So it does take a little while, but so far we've seen that it's a very popular program in the community. And we do still have money for Tune In, Tune Up, and we will have an event this next fiscal year. So sometime from July to July is the next fiscal year. We're thinking like at the end of this year, hopefully, if the weather's good, we'll have a big event. Stephanie, did you want to add anything?
Nope, just that I do think this is something that we can plan to bring to the next meeting if we want. And that's really, you'll hear about it a little bit later in the meeting of just kind of the maybe thought and vision for what the upcoming meetings could look like. And I think it's exactly this of not taking the foot off the pedal of kind of what's remaining and how we can continue again to like sustain this work and make sure it's aligned with what you all are supportive of. And that if we want to talk, Mary, if you want to talk more about, and I know you've had lots of great feedback about like air purifiers, for example, in our next meeting, we can even bring Valley Can to hear about maybe out and talk about outreach strategies for Tune In, Tune Up and how we get, the word out about the next event. I certainly think that's something that we can talk about if there's interest in the group.
Thanks, Steph. All right. Then we'll move on to, oh, I did that. Clean air rooms. Our air purifier program. So we do still have funding available for this SERP measure, and we are continuing our outreach to schools, over social media and at in-person events. Cass has been doing a great job getting out into the community and distributing the purifiers that we have in-house. And she'll go over some of the upcoming events that she'll be attending in your community during standing updates. And we are still working with our internal grants team and with CARB to expand our program to facilities that serve sensitive receptors like nursing homes and childcare centers, along with working to expand the program to allow for 2 air purifiers per household, which is something that you guys voted on in the last meeting. Once those updates are implemented, we will definitely let you all know, and then we will do our outreach to the facilities that serve sensitive receptors like the child care centers and nursing homes. So we already have a list of facilities that we'll do outreach to. We're just waiting to like button up some things to work on implementing the program expansion. And on this slide, we just wanted to highlight some of the community events that Zong's in here, Cass, and our grants team have attended over the last 5 years to sign folks up for the Clean Air Rooms program and even distribute the in-person units that we have. So you see some photos here of our team and even Rocio out in the community giving out some air purifiers. And we also have funding left in our wood burning device replacement program. As it heats up in the valley, we do see participation slow for a couple of months. I think people are thinking about how to cool their homes right now instead of how to heat them up. But we will still work with our North Valley fireplace retailers to continue to promote this program. And just to remind us all, grant funding is available to replace polluting devices with clean burning devices and even electric heat pumps. So I know they are a little bit more costly, but if someone is in the market for an electric heat pump and wants to decommission their fireplace, we do have funding for that. Or if a resident wants to completely decommission their fireplace, we have funding for that as well. So that's, even better. They have a wood burning device and maybe they like close off the wall, patch up where it was. We do have funding to do that as well. And they can apply for that. And just like our other residential programs, residents can apply for this program at any time. They don't have to wait for a specific time. They can go in today and apply for the program. And that includes our incentive measure slides. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, yes, Margot.
Margot,
Yeah.
on the wood burning devices, I thought we moved most of that money out of there. How much money is left in that fund?
Yeah, we have about $60,000 left in this fund. Let me go back. It's going to look a little crazy. We have $64,450 left in this fund. So there's still money available if any residents would like to apply. Does anyone have any other questions on incentive measures before I pass it off to Cass to do some outreach updates for us? All right. Well, Cass, whenever you're ready, I can.
Thank you, Sarah. If you'll go ahead
There we go.
and switch this. Okay. So our outreach commitment. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about what we'll be doing for each of these categories. So for outreach on health effects of wood burning, we're going to continue our outreach and education efforts through like residential wood burning to help residents understand the impacts of wood burning and what that means to public health and to air quality. Wood burning smoke contains fine particulate matter, PM 2.5, as you guys all know, but that can contribute to respiratory and cardiovascular health issues. And so we just want to continue to push the awareness, let people know, and that way we can tell them about the grant program that we have that's available for this. And hopefully, they will support compliance and switch over to a cleaner emission type of device. Then for outreach to reduce illegal burning, we're going to continue engaging with the public in all of our events that we attend. We have all this information in there. It's constantly with us. It's something we're constantly pushing out. But just to inform residents, businesses, and agricultural operators about regulations and educating them with the alternatives to illegal open burning. Through this, we can increase awareness, encourage compliance, and reduce emissions from unauthorized burning activities. For the multilingual part of it, again, we will continue to provide multilingual outreach to ensure Valley residents can access important air quality information, all our programs, all our resources, and the languages that they speak and understand. So we do share this information with schools, with different community organizations, trusted local partners to help us reach more people and share the information in ways that are meaningful and accessible. And then for reduced vehicle miles traveled, we'll continue supporting the programs and partnerships that encourage alternatives to driving alone, including carpooling, public transit, active transportation, and other strategies that reduce vehicle miles traveled. We will continue to keep working with the city, the county, and the COG to continue reducing the number of miles driven, which helps decrease emissions from the transportation sector. And that's one of our biggest sources of air pollution. So this is a big one that, we want to make sure we keep moving forward. And then the last one, to increase enrollment in healthier living schools program and establish emission-free zones. We will continue to partner with the schools to maintain participation in the Healthier Living Schools program and help more students, families, and staff learn about ways to reduce air pollution. We will also work with schools to distribute no idling signs so that they can establish their emission-free zones that reduce unnecessary vehicle idling and emissions around school campuses. So that's what's going on with that. I see, Mary, you have a question?
Thanks. So we have a lot of smoke that is produced from commercial operations related to food cooking. And there's some neighborhoods that are really constantly bombarded if there's a popular or a very active outdoor barbecuing operation. And folks in those neighborhoods are constantly bombarded. And I know at some point there was some discussion about some rules for that, and so I'd like to make sure that that there is, like, what can they do, right? Can they clean their grill more, right? How can they reduce this smoke, because it's really bad, and it's not so much even over on the south side that everybody talks about, but over on the east side. And I'd like to know, like, what exactly you all are doing with the San Joaquin Council of Government to reduce vehicle miles traveled, other than show it here on this commitment map here, because it's not really so clear. And I frankly like to see if that is a commitment there, that we have some more technical outreach on exactly what that means and how that's measured.
Hey Mary, this is Stephanie. I have a couple thoughts about kind of some of the feedback you're sharing. One, I think one perfect example that that is super related to this is kind of the work that happened with the bike lane project. I think that type of project is exactly what helps again reduce these vehicle miles travels. It gets people into different modes of transportation like bikes. And the way that project actually came up was actually through working with the San Joaquin COG. At the time when we were kind of working on that project, we had worked with the COG on options for, you know, and the COG, both the COG, the city, and even the county at that point, in kind of identifying this project. And that's kind of just an example of some of the partnership that has happened through this process with the COG, for example, on transportation related projects. They were literally the ones that helped connect and bring and bridge this project over to us, because they do work on a lot of transportation things and see the need for that funding. So appreciate kind of that connection and work on that project. I also am hearing kind of interest in kind of the outdoor cooking. Now we do have rules and regulations that are related to kind of commercial operations. But I think you're talking about, Mary, like someone that might be outside of maybe a commercial restaurant, right? You're talking about maybe like someone outdoors that might have like a smoker or something like
Well,
that.
you know that the city passed a vendor ordinance, right? And they can take public sidewalk if they leave a spot, and you know, can have a diesel generator up to 60 gallons of diesel. So and mobile, and you know, or dragging outside of business, dragging a barbecue outside in the front right by the sidewalk, and huge smoke.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. I appreciate that clarification. I think that is something we can potentially follow up with the city on just to get more information about that ordinance and kind of the work that's happening there. Amy, if you don't mind tracking that as an action item.
Alrighty, I'll go on to the next slide. So this is just a breakdown of the outreach commitment summary throughout the whole course of this AB 617 for the Stockton community. We've attended 165 outreach events, and we've engaged with all the schools within the boundary. There's 39 of them that are considered in the AB 617 boundary. And so we stay in touch with them through Peach Jar, through on-campus events, and through attending in-class presentations and working with the students and the educators. So we're super proud. It's been a heavy lift, but we're excited at the progress that's been made, and that will continue as this keeps going. Next slide, please. And then these are just some pictures of some community outreach events. Come rain or shine, we've been out there. And, you know, we're thrilled to just be able to have that engagement, that one-on-one connection to let people know about the grants that are available, and how they can, you know, receive an air purifier. We've had those in hand. In previous slides, we showed you a picture of that. And so this is just, you know, some more photos of the engagement that has occurred and will continue to occur. And speaking of outreach events, we do have one this coming Friday. We're going to be at the center, which is on South Sutter Street from 9:30 to 10:30, and we'll be out there. It's a food distribution event, but we will also be there to help get air purifiers into the hands of the community residents. So we're super excited about that. Next slide.
The next slide is talking about enforcement efforts, but before we move there, does anyone have any questions for Cass about outreach efforts in the community? Oh, Mary.
All right, Miss Mary, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Could you just send out a notice on that event that you've got scheduled on Friday?
Absolutely.
And
yep.
You know, and people can go there and get a air purifier without getting food.
Sure, we'll be there. I'm actually taking an extra set of hands with me, so that way we can take more purifiers. So yes, if you know people, you can let them know, and I'll also drop this information in the chat. But yes, send them out that way. We will be out there, and they can definitely get an air purifier if they're within the boundary.
Margot, go ahead.
So I was wondering if the community outreach, so first of all, I want to thank the Air District for all they've done with all these committee meetings and all these things that are going on. And I know it's paid time for you. I know it's your job, but I also know that you're going to be pulled in many directions going forward, and we're not going to be a priority, I don't think. But I will assume that we will see the Air District at Earth Day every year and those kinds of things, even if it's not AB 617. Is that true, or am I making that up?
Yes. So long as we have the availability and the staffing, it's something that even before the AB 617 was around, Earth Days or something that we definitely like to have a hand in and participate in.
Because, okay, just to get where I'm coming from, I'm thinking specifically wood burning stoves, that kind of thing, wood burning. I remember when there used to be ads on TV, where the local politicians would go on TV with an ad talking to people about wood burning and the dangers of it. And I know you say they're out there, but I don't see them anymore. And these issues are not one and done. You don't get to tell people that this is so, and then it will live on forever, because there's always new people coming in, and there's always new things. So, I expect to be seeing you around at different times, so that's all. Hard to say how that's going to happen. Thank you.
This is Stephanie. I actually really quickly wanted to jump in to say exactly kind of or answer and speak to Margot exactly what you were saying of kind of the continued kind of work in the community. I think, we've been transparent that the goal has always been to figure out ways that we can take the lessons that we've learned from this process through Stockton, and we've learned so many of them, and be able to kind of replicate that work in a lot of other Valley communities we know are really interested in engaging with us and are really kind of have that need. But I think to Cass's point, I would, definitely expect that we will still be in the community. I think maybe it is the case that we're definitely going to try and get out to other, North Valley communities. But I know, like, for example, in Fresno and Shafter, we still go to events when as those opportunities come up, because we definitely hear, Margot, what you're saying of, we still want to be in the community. We still want to engage with folks on such. So I just wanted to let you know of that. And then really, really quickly, I just wanted to just shout out Cass. I know a lot of folks know Cass, a lot of folks I see really positive feedback. But I think really out of that, like, for example, the tally that's for those events, the 165 events, we have a whole team that goes out to all of these events, but I would guess that Cass attended probably the majority of them. So I just want to thank Cass for all of her great work and all of the engagement. I know a lot of you see her kind of happy face smiling at all of these events, trying to get folks over to their booth and table and just getting folks involved in the program. But I just wanted to take a moment to really just thank Cass and just congratulate her on all the great work that this has culminated in over these 5 years, and really detailed work. But just thank you so much for the big commitment and for the long drives. For every event, Cass drives like about 4 hours. We're based in Fresno, so for each event, I know it's been a lot of early mornings and late nights to make the trek out up north. But just want to thank you so much for that work.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Cass. I can move us along to some of the Stockton AB 617 specific enforcement efforts. So in the SERP, the CSC wanted the district to focus on 3 enforcement-related measures. First, to conduct enhanced stationary source inspections, which means that if a facility had an emissions violation over the past 3 years, our enforcement team actually increased the inspection frequency of the facility to twice a year until their emission related violation got under control. So that is one of the SERP measures. Second, for the district to conduct enhanced enforcement efforts on fugitive dust requirements. Fugitive dust is dust that comes off of active construction sites, like when they're moving the earth and moving the dirt. And so our inspectors frequently inspected construction sites and construction areas. The third enforcement SERP measure is the enhanced enforcement of CARB's anti-idling regulation. And this is for the heavy-duty trucks. Over the past 5 years, our district inspectors have conducted over 841 facility inspections in the Stockton AB617 boundaries. Our enforcement team has also done 52 hours of targeted surveillance efforts to enforce the state's anti-idling regulation at heavy-duty hotspots, which are areas that heavy-duty trucks frequent. So if they know of an area that they frequent, or if they've gotten like tips from the community, they made sure to visit those areas. Our enforcement team has also conducted over 32 hours of targeted surveillance to enforce the fugitive dust requirement, which, like I mentioned in the previous slide, it was targeted to active construction sites and earth-moving activities. These inspections were done at times when construction is done the most, so basically when it rains the least, like the second and third quarters of the year. Along with these specific targeted efforts, our enforcement team also put together enforcement reports every quarter, along with larger annual enforcement reports every year. And these reports detail all the enforcement activity in the Stockton AB617 boundary. Before we transition to the next category, does anyone have any questions on our enforcement commitments? The enforcement reports that I did talk about are available on our website under the reporting tab for your community, so you can access them at any time. Yes, Mary?
Thanks. So I put in, some Public Record Act request on some specific enforcement notices that were listed there. And, I just like to say that, just having a list that somebody got a notice of violation without any information about whether or not that violation has been corrected, I think is not really showing the picture. Another thing that I noticed, and I thank you all, another thing that I noticed is that when we're looking at those quarterly reports, we don't actually see, like which in which facility, because these are all the facilities, it's not just those that are enhanced that we have on that enforcement report. And if I'm incorrect on that, please correct me. It is, like actually, like what inspections were done. So, that I was just like wondering, at the last one, because our City of Stockton Municipal Utility District gets a violation just about every single time. Every single quarter, there's something on there, and so finally, like I got it, and they have ended up, accumulating over $24,000 worth of fines. Just in this time that since we've been here. And so what's going to happen afterwards, and what about those other stationary I just don't understand like why we can't have that as just a regular thing that people can just go and, sort through and get. So, I was doing some work on a low carbon fuel standard application, and I could find all of the permits, but I couldn't find anything about any enforcement about them. I couldn't find anything about any inspections. And I just think that we need to have more public information available from the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District that we don't have to ask for in a Public Records Act request. Thank you.
Oh, you can go for it, Steph. Sorry.
Yeah. Thanks, Sarah, and thanks, Mary. I just wanted to thank you for your feedback, Mary. I know that I've gotten a few emails from you just about kind of ways that we can continue to improve our noticing and just like clarifying questions. And I know you're super involved in that process. So I just want to continue to thank you for that, for the feedback that you have both on those public notices and then just about the continued transparency. I'll maybe just reiterate just a couple of places that you can find information of just, we do our quarterly and our annual enforcement report that are really kind of should hopefully give folks a good amount of detail about kind of all the enhanced enforcement activity. But like Mary said, that's correct. If there's something that's not on the report that you're still interested, we definitely encourage folks to submit a public records request. We really try and tackle those and try and handle them as expeditiously as we can. And as always, I appreciate your feedback, Mary, because we're always looking for ways to kind of improve the transparency kind of in this process too. So just wanted to thank you for that feedback.
What's going to happen? What about those other stationary sources that are outside of the AB617 steering committee that significantly contribute to poor air quality inside of the boundary, And so can we, like have like to maybe set us up better, can have some kind of Stockton area list that might be like a permanent list that we could go to look for those permit numbers, and then again those inspection reports you know are not made available. And I guess now I should probably, or I don't know if it's going to come up, but I've got a PRA in there for a long time because somehow, despite all of these meetings, I'm sorry, I don't have my video on. Despite all of these meetings, that we've had, a DTE, has been one of is our number one stationary source, right in the middle. That's very obvious. People see it all over, miles around. They complain. People all over complain about the cloud making smoke, right? That's what it's called, a cloud making smoke, and that report that you said you were going to do, like the hotspot report, this hotspot report that I just so happened to find, on the enforcement, but that was finalized in February of this year. And we didn't hear anything about it. So I just also have to say that too.
I have a couple. Oh, sorry. I have a couple thoughts, and I see Catherine's hand up too. So maybe just to quickly respond to Mary. At this time, if there, and I do think, Mary, that you are familiar with the permits portal. If there's any questions about kind of any facilities permits, that information is all readily available online. We have a permits portal that you can, search up, really anything about a facility, either the unit, you can even search up like the city of Stockton and it'll pull all the permits up. If you know the facility's name, facility's address, you can online on our we have an online permits tool that can give you information about, any which permits. You don't have to submit a public records request for that. At this time, though, if there's anything outside of those annual and quarterly enforcement reports you're interested in, the best pathway is to go through a public records request. But I guess, Mary, to your point of what happens to these facilities, I will say, and I want folks to know that just because, the work that we did and these enforcement commitments are enhanced beyond what the district regularly does. I want to also assure folks that there is also kind of, the standard procedures that we do here at the district. The facilities are still getting inspections. It was just through this process that we were able, that we have done enhanced enforcements kind of beyond what the district normally does. And so that process is still underway, and we're still undertaking all of that work. And I will also say that, with our enforcement team's work, I think we're, also looking to and learning from this process of maybe what ways that we can take the lessons learned from, the enhanced enforcement we did in the Stockton community and see if there's opportunities to kind of implement this work, in other low income and disadvantaged communities. And that work's ongoing.
Thanks for the clarification, Stephanie. Go ahead, Catherine.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to start by dittoing and echoing all of the gratitude that everybody expressed. I think people already shared a lot, so I just kind of wanted to add my infinite emphasis there that we've come a really long way over the last few years, especially given that we had one in-person meeting and then COVID hit and we had to pivot really quickly. Also really appreciate the diligence of folks like Mary Elizabeth who have the tenacity to dig deep on this kind of stuff. I know that the Air District has a ton of information available online, but also in general that's really hard to navigate and find or even understand what it says if you could get access to the permit. So I certainly can't speak for other people, but I can say, Central Valley Air Quality Coalition works with member organizations across the region in selected communities. And I've asked and I've heard colleagues ask in other spaces, especially as we think about this group moving forward and we're not going to be meeting as often. I would appreciate the continued effort towards using this as an informational hub. And I've requested before again, maybe not in this meeting, just in full disclosure, but in other spaces, that it would be helpful to get notices of if a new facility is applying for an application, authority to construct permit, or if an existing major facility is applying to expand. It would be helpful for people to know that, because unless you're very diligent and have a lot of time and know exactly where to look online, that's just not readily accessible information. And again, to be clear, it's not because we're trying to demonize every facility as bad actors, but until we have the information about what the sources are, we can't be proactive and propose solutions or have those conversations. So it's not necessarily specific to enforcement, but it is about large major sources and permitting processes. If there's a way to be able to utilize our group to just let us know when those things are happening, that's something that I would really appreciate. And I think it would lighten the workload for people who don't have the time to go dig that information out.
Thank you so much, Catherine. We will document that and bring it up at a future conversation to have some action around that. Anyone else have any questions before we continue? All right, go ahead, Sarah.
Thanks, Amy. I'll pass it off to Stephanie, who will go over some of our permitting commitments.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And this is exactly kind of, I think, a fitting conversation because this is exactly maybe to Mary's point and then also to Catherine's point of like if there are opportunities to continue the conversation. I know we're running a little bit late on time and we do actually have little Manila here to provide an update on some of the urban greening and vegetative barriers work. So this is maybe a tee off, and I do want to kind of offer to folks in wrapping up our eventual offer to you all is, even though we might not meet as frequently, like even if we want to continue to do subcommittees or things like that, that's definitely still on the table. And so I'll quickly go over these slides and help wrap up this presentation, take any questions, and then I'd love to give Little Manila an opportunity to just give their update as well, because I know folks are eager about the tree planting work that they're up to. So some of the other commitments, like Sarah mentioned at the beginning, we just wanted to give you an overview of really kind of holistically all of the commitments that are in the SERP, not just the incentive ones. So a couple of things that I did want to touch on is one of those being exactly kind of what Mary had mentioned is what we call kind of our toxic air spot, sorry, my brain is like mixing up word. Air toxics hotspots, that's the words, AB2588 program. And so this was a measure in here, and it is required kind of through this AB617 process. And, you all know that in addition to the incentive funding that was dedicated to this community, there were kind of other requirements and reporting that was required as a part of this. And so one of the things that the district did do is help expedite the facility risk assessments through AB2588. And so this was in all the facilities that are kind of in the Stockton boundary. We did help expedite this process in this evaluation to evaluate kind of the health risk associated with different facilities. And like Mary had talked about, there is a report, and it's something that we update in our SERP tracker every single month. I do wonder, Rocio, if we can pop into the reports page of where that lives. But this is something that our team updates again every month, and you can find it in the tracker if you'd like to kind of hear more about this. And again, if this is a topic that folks want to dig into and talk more about, we can certainly talk about, if there's a space in another meeting or subcommittee that that we can plan to bring, this back to the forefront. Something else that I wanted to talk about is also kind of the process to evaluate rules. So we did, as a part of this AB617, implementation, evaluate rules to determine if there were kind of, in addition to kind of the kind of existing rules that we have, if there were other additional reductions that were possible for sources of NOx and PM 2.5. And so as a part of this process, we also did do an expedited review of to ensure that all of our rules met what's called BARCed, which is the best available retrofit control technology. And kind of through that rule evaluation process, we did amend 8 different district rules, and they were related to a whole variety of things. It was rules that were related to oil and gas, flares, internal combustion engines. And so that through that process, again, all of these rules really have a huge impact in the ability to reduce emissions, not just in the Stockton community, but really throughout the whole valley. And so this is definitely an important component of improving air quality in the Stockton area. And then I'm happy to maybe wrap this up, because this is, again, I do just want to make sure this was a moment that we just wanted to mark and celebrate with you all, and just reflect on the work that's happening. But I did just want to make sure that folks know this is just a milestone. It's not like an endpoint. And I hope that folks feel that this isn't us saying kind of goodbye for the process, but really just celebrating the work that's happened over 5 years and just trying to understand kind of what other opportunities that we can build on, and how we can kind of continue to successfully implement what remaining measures that we have in the SERP. So I did want to highlight a couple of things just in thinking about next steps, which is we will plan to transition to quarterly CSC meetings, and really want these meetings to be updates on monitoring. So that's something that we didn't touch on too much, but we've mentioned in previous meetings that monitoring will still continue in the community, because we do want to continue to track trends and patterns in the community, especially related to all the work that's been happening. And so monitoring, continued enforcement activities, we want them to be a check-in of kind of the remaining commitments. Like Sarah said, there are a good handful of residential measures that are still ongoing, that, we actively have funding, we're pushing to get applicants for. And we also want them to be an update on ongoing projects that you all already, know are happening, that we want to, move us into this phase of hopefully getting to see lots of projects come to fruition. Stockton, I'm thinking really in the next year, Stockton's going to get to a place that we're in, kind of in Fresno and Shafter, where in this last year, we've been to so many cool events in the community to really celebrate the work. Like we did a ribbon cutting and a groundbreaking ceremony for a paving project in Shafter. I think that as we kind of continue to move forward on these really longer term projects like tree plantings, like the locomotive project, like, infrastructure, in the next year, we'll be able to hopefully host some celebrations, some milestone events to help one, see events or see kind of projects come to fruition again, but to be able to invite you all to see them actually in action. So whether that be a school bus through Stockton Unified, or hopefully one day, seeing that actual electric locomotive at the port, that's all something that we want to keep an eye out for and help plan for. Something that we did want to let folks know is that for the meetings, we will continue our resident stipend program, just recognizing that that's an important facet of just ensuring that we can sustain that that continued engagement. And we won't plan to do agenda settings unless if there's feedback from the CSC, we can certainly consider putting agenda settings back on, the calendar. We haven't done them for a while. We've kind of been doing lots of, either calls and getting emails from folks about agenda topics. So that's something that we can plan if we hear that feedback. But something I did want to mention, just given some of the feedback that we're hearing about just maybe continued work in certain areas that maybe aren't related to incentives, is subcommittees will continue as they're needed. So we can certainly look to that and look to plan one, in between those quarterly meetings that we're planning on having. And finally, I did want to let folks know to put on their calendar and save the date that our first quarterly CSC meeting will be Wednesday, September 2nd. Like I did just mention, we are planning on giving lots and having these be kind of a check-in on all the things that we're still working on, like monitoring and continued cert commitments. But certainly, if there's urgent topics that come up from the group, and we've already collected a few of those in action items, we can plan to kind of plug them into upcoming meetings as well. Awesome. Sorry for the fast ending here, but that wraps up this presentation. And again, we just have one last slide just to thank the CSC for all of your work to date. And again, we still have a little bit of ways to go, but we just wanted to hugely thank the Stockton group for all of the work that you all have done. To date, $27.3 million has been invested in various clean air projects in the community, whether that's as small as a purifier in someone's home, all the way up to trees planted, buses that are driving with kids like around the Stockton boundary, all looking to reduce an estimated 241 tons of pollution to improve air quality and public health in the Stockton area. So anyway, that's the actual end to the presentation, and happy to take any last questions that you all have.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thanks, Sarah and Cass, for providing us with that overview. I am looking at the clock and want to be respectful of everyone's time. We did invite Little Manila, and I see Nico here tonight to provide us an update. We have about 5 minutes, Nico. Do you think that would be sufficient? I know we wanted to save 10-15 minutes for you. Do you think we can get the conversation started and then maybe send a more comprehensive update via email?
We definitely can do that. We brought Hyphy with us to present on the data prioritization map and the work that they've been doing, but that is pretty comprehensive, and so we can always follow up via email with that. I did have an important update for the urban greening project, so I think with the time I have, I can just talk about that. I want to be respectful of people's evenings as well, so I can be quick. Let me.
Thank you. That's a perfect compromise there. So it sounds like we'll send the comprehensive presentation via follow-up email. I'm also seeing that other agencies are going ahead and putting their updates in the chat. So go ahead, Nico.
Yeah, well, nice to see everybody. It's been an amazing, my portion of the CSC for the last few years has been amazing. And so congratulations to everybody on incredible work. I just want to highlight, the work that our team has been doing over the last few months and getting trees planted. So our kind of final number for this first year is lower than we anticipated. We planted 10 trees on 6 properties through our My Free Tree program. In previous presentations, I mentioned the challenge of not getting city right-of-way access for the project. And so up until now, we've been really leaning into the residential outreach. And a CSC member, just Jennifer Flores, she's here in the Zoom meeting. She actually is one of our trust builders, and a big part of her work has been doing the outreach to community members to try to get folks enrolled in the My Free Tree program. So we do have 5 new stewards, potential stewards that we've scheduled site assessments for that we'll be doing this month in June, and we'll be spending the entire summer pushing the outreach in the different communities that we're working in. As always, if you or anybody you know would like a tree, please email at us at trees@littlemanila.org. We'll include all this information in the email. But the big update is that on April 27th, we executed a independent contractor agreement with San Joaquin County Parks and Recreation. We talked about it in last month's CSC that we had been, talking with them, but we were able to settle on uh, a plan for work through the end of this project that will see a good portion of the tree deliverable for AB617's urban greening project go into the handful of parks that are within the boundary. So those parks are Taft Park, Box Track Community Park, and Kennedy Park. And what's really awesome, I think, about these 3 parks is that they happen to be in areas that don't have right-of-way planting spaces along the streets. There, it's all front yard plantings that are up to the residents, and so there's not a lot of space for like wholesale plantings. So the parks are really critical for folks getting out of the heat. All of these parks have aging canopies. They are in need of investment and are severely underutilized. And so our plantings will be part of a broader park activation effort with the county, and a broader investment in the park spaces by the county. So this year, the county will be upgrading all of the Stockton area parks with new underground irrigation systems, and we'll be working with their senior park staff to create our planting plans in the areas that are irrigated only. So all of our trees will be irrigated underground. Our staff will be supplementing the initial handful of months of establishment with our hand watering and our watering equipment, but then they'll be able to be fully dependent on the county's irrigation systems. Our staff will also be monitoring it, primarily responsible for monitoring and maintaining these trees for 4 years. So out of the 10-year commitment, our team will be monitoring them as the main responsible party for 4 years. And then that there will be a handoff with the county to incorporate them into their tree inventory. And then the long-term tree care will be the responsibility of the county moving forward after that. But we'll still be keeping eyes on them. We'll be working closely with county park staff to ensure that the trees are pruned properly, that the trees are continuing to be irrigated, and that they are establishing the ways that we want. We'll also be working with the county to create a county-approved tree list, a species list. So I think that that's a really exciting outcome of this project that we weren't intending, that we would have a lasting impact on the species of trees that the county will plant in their parks. And so we're really looking forward to doing this work with county park staff, and we are expecting to complete all of our planting plans for the county by mid-July. And since this may be the last CSC meeting for a while, we will continue to work with Valley Air District to share these updates as they come, and we're happy to continue giving updates via email or even join the quarterly CSCs as those get scheduled. What else do we have? I know it's 7:01. I think that's the main thing. We are going to be kicking off the planting season in September, so we'll be sharing those dates with Valley Air District. We're very close to finalizing our summer maintenance series, so we still work with the city on other projects. So if you'd like to learn about us and work alongside us, we'll be doing tree care days at a bunch of city parks this summer, and then starting in the fall, we'll be doing our work for AB617 at the county parks and hopefully planting a whole bunch of trees on residential properties. We'd like to plant all of the trees for this project before the end of next April. That is our goal. So, yeah, that is our update. Thank you for letting me go 2 minutes over.
No, thank you, Nico. It's an important update, and we look forward to receiving that presentation so that when the Air District sends out that follow-up email, what you'll have in there is some of the updates that were shared earlier today, some of the links that you see on the chat. And then in addition to that, I want to acknowledge that we have several agencies here tonight that we're likely counting on having some time to provide some updates. So we'll be sure to include those updates in the emails that get sent out. And if you have additional updates that you're unable to put in the chat, please do feel free to email the Air District directly, and those will be included in that follow-up email. At this time, I'd like to open it up to public comment. I know we're a little bit over time, but want to make sure that we respect the rules of engagement for the public meeting. So if there's any public comment at this time, we will take it. And then we are streaming on YouTube, so I'll check to see if there's any comments there. I'm not seeing any additional comments on our YouTube live stream. Okay, well, with that said, this officially concludes our last monthly Community Steering Committee meeting. It is not the end, as we heard today. We're going to use this momentum to ensure that you all continue to do the important work that you need to do in your community. And most importantly, that we continue to be able to measure the impact of your collective efforts as we move forward. So our next meeting will be in September. I know that's going to feel like a long time. So if you have any questions, please do feel free to reach out to our team or to the Air District, and we're happy to continue the conversation and make sure that the things that you want to include in the agenda, if they're not included, do get included. And as in previous months, what will happen is the draft agenda will go out. And if you have any comments, suggestions about that draft agenda and want to see some modifications included, please do voice your opinions, and we'll be sure to include those modifications. Well, I hope everyone is ready to start their summer and has some great things planned to relax and enjoy the months of June and July and August, because we won't talk until September. So with that said, I'd love to invite the Air District to add any other closing remarks before we close this meeting.
Thanks, Amy. I just want to say thank you so much for spending your evening with us, and we will see you in September.
All right. Thanks, everyone, and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All our family.
Don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions.
A beautiful meeting tonight.
Thanks, Dr. Farrell.
Have a good
Is
night.
Debbie still here?